Welcome to Mamahood After Trauma, where we stop pretending and heal out loud. I'm Emily Cleghorn, trauma survivor, cycle breaker, and mama rebuilding from the inside out. If you're ready to break cycles, trust yourself again, and rise without shame, you're in the right place. Let's go. Before we dive in, mama, if you're a mama healing from trauma and trying to parent differently, but you're not sure what support or next step is right for you, I totally understand. And that's why I've created something to help. Take my free Find Your Next Step to Calm and Healing quiz to discover where you are in your healing journey and what your next best step looks like. You'll find the link in the show notes below. Hello, Mama, and welcome to this episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. I am thrilled that you have taken some time out of your busy mama schedule to tune in and listen to our conversation today. Today, we have the honor of being joined by Dr. Monique Thompson. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I love this show,
Oh,
Mamahood After Trauma. Yes.
thank you for being here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation. So let's get started by having you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners and share how you came to work in the trauma recovery space.
So I am a licensed professional counselor and trauma-informed life coach. I have been working for about 25 years in counseling practice and private counseling practice solo. And the journey here, I would say, easily came from my mother, who, when I was a little girl, had me in all these ridiculous extra science and math classes, such that when I got to high school, I had nothing left to take. So she told me I have to find something. And my counselor at the time in high school said, well, does she understand you don't have any? I said, the lady does not carry find some classes. So she put me in AP psychology and AP sociology. And that's where my journey began, was actually in high school. So I learned to do retreats and group counseling. And I did that not every afternoon, but often enough that I decided for sure I want to major in psychology. I did excellently in those classes without a problem at all, and just found that it was natural for me. Natural for me. I mean, we were tackling not terribly difficult, but looking back in hindsight, definitely remarkably challenging content areas. This is when HIV/AIDS was just coming around, and we did a group component about HIV/AIDS awareness for elementary school kids. I came up with some games and learning tools for them to kind of process the emotions they were experiencing from having had people around them succumb to the virus. We did Lifesavers, which was on suicide prevention. And we did Kid Days, which were in school retreats to help kids process difficult emotions they were having with the crack epidemic was happening at the time. And with suicidality, it was becoming a spoken about issue. I'm very old. I'm 55 years old for your listeners. So this is a long time ago. This is when Nancy Reagan had the Just Say No campaign. So way back then was my entrance into psychology and finding my way. My way became a trauma-oriented field when I started my in in Texas. Well, in every state, you have to do so many hours of internship to get licensed. And that would be where I'd say I found my way into this field. I was doing work with several school districts, and my focus was on kids who survived sexual trauma. I I'm just good with kids. I'm naturally very good with kids. Um, that just is part of who I am. I'm by nature non-judgmental. I like to play games. I easily make up games, and so that came naturally to me. But at the same time, I wanted more depth and rigor to my internship. And a person that I had worked under, one of my graduate school professors, gave my name to a local therapist who was a registered sex offender treatment provider who needed someone to help him do group therapy, which is how I ended up doing adult male sex offender treatment as an intern. At the same time, I was working embedded in the community, doing community mental health in the hospital. I did a very rigorous internship and I enjoy the field so much. I like rigor. I enjoy human puzzles. And so coming into my actual practice, you would think that I have so much experience now working with kids with trauma, but then I had kids and I became a mama. And so, how I found my way into betrayal trauma was actually because I flipped my counseling practice around myself as a mother. And so, my practice became the different hours of the day and a different caseload because I really wanted to focus on being a mom and a wife. So that flipped everything. So I then found myself seeing more and more couples and doing more and more infidelity work. Around COVID, a publisher reached out to me to write about my work and to create a workbook for couples. So I did that at the urging of my now graduating senior who felt that I had been doing this work for so long that, oh, you could easily do this. This is during COVID. She was graduating. My husband works in the hospital and was one of the first to contract COVID. And I was homeschooling her little sister because of COVID. But they said I could do this. So I did it. The book is now a bestseller. And I don't regret it, but it helps me to look back and see how you can use pressure
Mhm.
to overcome, but it requires deep focusing, going deeply within yourself. And so some of my work is actually from my own life walk
Mhm.
of what helps me to move through. And I happen to be a scientist from all those many years of my mom, and she's outsmarted me. The truth is, she outsmarted me and had me in those extra science classes. But I'm a naturally curious cat, and
Mhm.
so for me, the field of trauma has been a fantastic field. It has evolved itself since I came
Oh, yeah.
into it. Many beautiful scientists have contributed to the field. Shapiro is one of my favorite, but Dr. Helen Fisher is another favorite who's contributed to the field. And then we have these other artists who've contributed as well to help us to understand different methodologies. And I enjoy it all. I enjoy all of those things. And because I have a pretty heavy caseload, I'm pretty booked every day. I get to see someone who's at a maintenance level, post trauma, someone who's just right at the breaking point, it just has happened, and someone who's moved along and can't believe how far we've come. One of my appointments yesterday morning, at the end, they said, "Huh," and I said, "Yeah." They were like, "I didn't know we could get here," and I said, "You got here. We got here. How nice is it?" They're like, "This is really nice," and I thought, "Yeah," and then I was like, "Oh." This is just what happens. Some of trauma work really is embedded in the science of our human nervous system, the
Yeah.
brain, the vagus nerve, the body itself. And
Mhm.
some of it, there's the art of it.
Mhm.
And there's all these expressive artists in the field, life coaches and relationship coaches, people who've had a life experience and found a really beautiful flow of ways to deal with this kind of thing and make it become something beautiful. So that is what attracts me to it, is all the beauty of transformation that's possible, the science that gives us some recipes that are reasonable to try. But then it's just it's a field like all other sciences. It ever evolves, and you just kind of, it's a beautifully unfolding field itself. So I like the beauty of its unfolding. But my own personal journey has been one where I've seen that it does work. What I do works with so many people. And I like seeing miracles. I enjoy sitting front and center and seeing miracles unfold in front of me every day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, and I know there was a long, but you get me started. You're going to have to lasso me in as we go. You get me started on this. Oh, I could go forever. I could talk about this forever.
You know what? Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, trauma, even, in the last 6 years since I've
Wow.
dived into my own healing journey and building
Mhm.
out mamahood after trauma, a lot has changed. We've grown in a lot of awareness.
Mhm.
Um, Things have evolved.
Mhm.
We know more about the nervous system and how it impacts everything.
Yes.
Um, yeah, there's never a dull moment, and there are some amazing social scientists and scientists who are speaking into the field, and they are brilliant.
Mhm, mhm. Yes,
Um,
yes.
so I'm curious if you could leave our listener with one message, and we can dive deep
Mhm.
on this. Uh, what would it be
About tell me,
about trauma recovery?
give me about trauma recovery, okay.
Yeah. So
Um, and
let's
then
say
give
it's
me a
let's say
yeah,
it's a mama is listening, and
okay,
maybe she's early on her journey, and she knows she's got work to do. However, she doesn't see the full scope of it yet.
okay.
And she knows that she doesn't want her kids to feel the pain that she's felt.
Ah, okay. We're in a beautiful house of what this experience is like, and you've given me a hallway.
Mhm.
Um, Tell me a little bit more about the door we're going into. Is her trauma from her experiencing some crime that's been committed against her? Is it because of an experience in a relationship? Is it from her family of
From
origin, from her past?
from her family of origin.
Family of origin. Okay, family of origin. So these people are related to her children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a different door, right? It's a different door than if it was a crime committed by a stranger, then this could just be her story in a lot of ways. The children, depending on their age, could easily not be aware of this event at all. But if it's family of origin and we're saying trauma, then many times what we're actually talking about is a crime that was committed against this person by a family member. If we're saying trauma, we likely do mean that some kind of crime
Mhm.
has possibly been committed, or there's been some kind of domestic crime, emotional abuse, neglect, things like that. But then we could go up that ladder to actual crimes, sexual assault, physical violence, things like that. So when you've experienced things from a stranger, sometimes it's helpful because it's easier to see the crime and define it. It's helpful to be
Yeah.
able to easily define it. Um, if it is a family member, sometimes defining it gets muddied, even though
Yeah.
the experience is still a crime. It was still a crime.
Yeah. It
But then
becomes more
now
complicated.
it becomes more complicated. And the outcry becomes different if the
Mhm.
person does not make an immediate outcry. There's not a legal unfolding, a proceeding unfolding, there's not a justice system involvement. Um, then as years go by, in a family of origin experience, there is a continual exposure to the trauma
Mhm.
due to some degree lack of justice. You have not gone through any kind of systemic recovery, meaning the person has not been prosecuted, they have not faced justice for that crime. We haven't secured any of the goals of justice, rehabilitation, deterrence, nothing. We haven't done anything with the goals of corrections. And possibly in a family experience, you may not be the only
Yeah.
victim. Okay, so family of origin, yeah, definitely, the tentacles go out into many directions. Whereas a crime from some person whom you don't know, does not know you really, and they commit this crime against you, you report this crime, they may have other victims. You are not related to them in any blood relation way.
Mhm.
And it's a little bit more straightforward that this is a legal process. This
Mhm.
is a violation of your rights. And you sometimes, there's a better sense of closure, meaning a beginning and an end. This person never met you before, they did this, it stopped, over here, family of origin. She's in this room where even if she seeks justice, she's still related to this person.
Yeah.
This is still your cousin who did this, your father who did this, your brother who did this, your sister who did this, your mother who did this. And that person still has a blood relation to your children. So even if you are able to remedy it by saying, I will never again allow this person to commit this crime against me, your children are still related to this person. And in this case, we have a question, a different kind of question that comes up. So to that mom, I would say, first things first, mask over your face. You've got to breathe. You've got to exist. You've got to. And for this particular kind of generational challenge, I would say you want to create a team. Okay, so mama's listening. You kind of want a team either way, okay? But for sure, you need a team. Do not do this alone, okay? So you need your scientist, you need your artist, and you need your, I'm going to say these people are your other healthcare scientists and chemists. So I'll explain. There is a study that the Centers for Disease Control did many, many years ago. It's called the ACEs study. And so what they found was that there's a certain number of adverse childhood events that can occur before you turn age 18. And as that number increases, so do your risk factors for negative health outcomes. And we mean your medical, biological self as well as your psychological health. So, mom, if this happened to you, one, you can easily, the ACE study, this instrument is available, widely available anywhere online. I like NPR's version because they also explain what it means. Okay. So let's say that you get your ACE score and you see that from what happened to you, from your family of origin, this trauma you experienced, let's say that your score is a 3 or 4 on that scale. And on this scale, a 2 or 3, those are actually high numbers. All right. Everybody has a 0 or 1. Everybody, most people have a 0 or 1, but you get to your twos, your threes, your fours. Now you are looking at some increased risk. So for that, now we talk about this team. You need a scientist on your team. That would be your medical doctor, just your regular family physician. For women, I say include your OBGYN as part of that team. Find a registered dietitian. They need to be part of that team. Your registered dietitian is a mathematician and a chemist. I don't think people realize that's what that person really is. Nutrition, when it comes to our biological health, requires math and chemistry. You have to figure out what goes with what and in what way and at what time and in what amount. There's a lot of math involved, and that person also has to know a lot about your medical history. So there's all the chemistry and mathematics that you need a registered dietitian for. You want a life coach, someone who brings the art to the experience. You need a scientist, a behavioral health scientist. That would be someone who is an actual licensed therapist. And I'll explain why you need that person now, because I want us to walk deeper into this experience and look at the emotional and mental health of it. All right. So, why do I need a life coach and a therapist if I'm a mom going through this? Your behavioral health scientist will help you with, one, is there some diagnosable event happening in the brain? Nobody knows that unless you go see someone. This is one of those times when you could do some of the screenings, like Mental Health America has screenings online. World Health Organization has screenings online. Those screenings just tell you that you're in pain. That's all that they tell you. It's like taking your temperature. It just tells you that you're in pain or not. It doesn't tell you what kind of clinical picture you're looking at. You actually need to go see that particular scientist so they can figure out what is, because you're going to feel like you're crazy. You'll feel like something's wrong with me. Maybe it's PTSD. Is it PTSD? Do I have borderline personality disorder? Do I have major depression? Maybe I have anxiety disorders. Do I have this? Do I? Well, this is why you will see that scientist, because you need those answers. And if you're me, you want to make sure the person gets an actual answer. So most people who are being treated for trauma, when they come to me, they want that answer, and I want them to have that answer. But there are other kinds of ways we need to go about it, including deep clinical interviews and assessments to find out the answer, right? Meanwhile, your life coach, because you're a mom, you still have to live life. You still have to do everyday life. And that person, those artists in that field, I really appreciate them. I'm a trauma informed life coach myself, but this is something that you really want to say, what artists, do I like their art? So this part is a little bit more like going to the museum and you see all these different artists and you're drawn to a particular artist, right? And you just have a kinship with their work. And when you're going through this, you're going to notice there's all these different artists. Well, whose work am I drawn to? Do I find kinship with their work? And that would be a good person to have on your team. You really do need companions. Think um, Wizard of Oz. You need the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. You need people with you on this road. And I want you to now imagine you're in this house, this beautiful house. We found the door, we're in this room, and now we're on this journey, on this road, and you need companions. So far, you've got your OBGYN, your doctor, you've got your life coach, you've got a behavioral health scientist of some kind, a registered dietitian. You say, how often do I meet with these people? My recommendation is that you meet with them until you find that you're doing like this. You've got a rhythm. You've got a rhythm and you sense health. And you've got these objective scientists who can detect if health is really occurring, right?
Mm.
So you're not just emotionally feeling better, right? You're not just happier, you're actually having a return, a real recovery to health. And those scientists can genuinely say, yes, there's health or not, or you're clear or not. When it comes to your medical side, your biological side, you do need a definitive, yes, I'm clear. Here's some health issues that people have, especially when they're moms and they've been through family of origin type traumas. Increased risk of high blood pressure, increased risk of type 2 diabetes, increased risk of significant sleep issues, which those particular kinds of sleep issues, difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up not feeling refreshed, lead to other problems down the line.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's the medical issues. Sometimes when you have a lot of body trauma, you can find that you're a mom, but maybe you want to be a mom again and you're having fertility issues. So your OBGYN can sometimes help you to see how some of the stress that your body has been exposed to is affecting how your body is nourishing itself and moving forward. Um, I like The Body Keeps the Score, and I like his work. It's a triggering work, but I would also recommend as one of your companions the academic understanding of your family of origin experience. An academic understanding can sometimes help you to zip up these questions and academically answer them, but I do not find them as a practitioner myself to necessarily be healing. Okay. An academic understanding doesn't necessarily bring healing, but it can help you to kind of cross out some things that you were thinking that were just not true. So there's the academic. So academics, there's a lot there out there to read. I like The Body Keeps the Score, Polyvagal Theory, Dr. Steve Porges. I love his work. One of my favorites for people to use as an academic read, but that also kind of gives you a skill is Focusing by Eugene Gendling. I enjoy making sure that you have a little bit of a library, not too much because that could get overwhelming. But now here's where you can get help with your library, your life coaches, your therapists, even your OBGYN, your doctor. Ask us for what could I be reading? And typically we've been reading. Typically
Yeah.
we've been reading, and we'll say, "Oh, I think you might enjoy this, or you might enjoy that
Mhm.
for more reading." You may want to find some support, meaning
Mhm.
someone who, like you, has been on a similar journey like
Mhm.
this and has a lived experience like yours. So now you've got a pretty complete team. All right. You've got someone like you who has a similar lived experience. They're a mama who's going through trauma, and maybe it's a similar kind of trauma. All right. It kind of it helps a little bit the more similar the trauma. It helps a little
Yeah.
bit. Maybe you find a OBGYN who is trauma informed. They're familiar with the effects of childhood trauma on your body and they can help. You find a doctor, a regular family doctor. We don't quite know that we need a psychiatrist, but we do need the family doctor who is an
Mhm.
informed, trauma informed family doctor. So they're familiar with the ACE study. They can get you there. There are a couple of ways to kind of sift through, like, how do I find a therapist? Ask Emily. These are your lists. Ask her. She can help you with sifting through therapists. There's so many different things to look for. So asking your companions for help finding the therapist is what I'd recommend over Google, over any search engine, over Psychology Today, over just going through Instagram. I would say with those people in place, now you have experts who are familiar with you, familiar with your story, and who may help you to kind of have a cleaner lens of sifting through the thousands of options that are out there. So Emily is a resource, right? And I'm going to use another, like we said, the books, but I also encourage moms to find a podcast that you find kinship with too.
Yeah.
Hearing, listening, having that auditory stimulation of a calm voice that you find kinship with is a daily experience actually of healing. And if you read Dr. Steve Porges' work on polyvagal theory, you'll see some of that in there, that there is such a thing. And Emily's voice is so soothing. I call it like the kindergarten teacher voice. So you want to be listening to soothing voices that are kind of in that topic area that you're learning more. That helps too. So those are some things the mom can do is first breathe. What happened to me? It was a family member. I'm going to need a team.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe. This was a stranger, or this is a crime of a non-family member. Maybe they're not a stranger, but it's a non-family member. Following whatever protocols you have locally for crime, and noting in your mind that just because someone committed a crime against me doesn't mean I am a victim. But that does not mean I don't want justice, although the real justice is that it never occurred, right? That's the real justice, that it never happened. So that mom, the family of origin, I want her to kind of take some time, create a team, and as you get a team member, ask them, well, who do you think we should have for this next team member? As soon as you've got one team member, you're already well on your way. You ask that person, who do you think? Who do you think I should get? I'm thinking I want to add a life coach to my team. Can you think of anybody? And they're going to say, let me see. Let me what I think of. And then you get the life coach, and now you have your OBGYN. Hey, I want to kind of find a support group of women like me. Who do you think? Who do you recommend? You get that person, and now I think I need to see I need a regular doctor on my, who do y'all think? So you're constantly building your team, but those are your most essential team members. Make your team as big as you need to, but minimally your OBGYN, primary care doctor, a registered dietitian, life coach, therapist, someone with a similar lived experience as you. And there you go. Your academics I say academics, I really don't mean going to school. I'm meaning your literature, not so much self-help. So the literature, I mentioned, the polyvagal theory. Shapiro has a lot of work out there. Dr. Helen Fisher has a lot of work out there. So you're looking for people who are scientists who wrote a book. For credibility, I'd say stay there. If it's family of origin content, it just gets wild. When you get to people who are writing anecdotal self-help, it gets wild. Some of the self-care is just, can I digress for a minute and fuss about something?
Oh, go for it.
Self-care. All right. So, mom, with this, you may hear people talking about self-care. And often we over extend self-care to our largest organ, the skin. And we miss the organ that needs the most attention, which is the brain. So when you're thinking self-care, mom, and you got these kids and you're like, what do I do to make sure my kids are okay? The self-care for your kids is nervous system and brain centered self-care. And here's some easy ways to do that. Time outside in the sun is self-care for your brain. So time outside versus inside. Time with nature is self-care for your brain. That's time in nature. Take a walk around things that grow out of the ground. Okay, something like that. Time with animals, horses, creatures is helpful self-care for your brain. And your nervous system co-regulates with calm people. So self-care often is being around people who bring that out in you, who bring the calm out in you. So that's nervous system self-care. And then another way to think of your self-care is after I do whatever it is, even if it's maybe you do something for your skin, like a pedicure, manicure, spa day. After I have that activity and I scan my body, do I notice that I'm feeling lighter in my body? Do I have a
Mm,
sense of calm in my gut, in my heart, in my mind? Just
mhm,
kind of gently connecting with yourself, your
mhm.
genuine, deep felt sense of self, and seeing what message that you're noticing from inside of you. And if inside of you,
Mm.
after that mani pedi, all you're thinking about is how much this costs and what I got to go do next, and now I'm running late for this. Okay, well, you still need to do self-care
Yeah.
because now your feet are just pretty and your hands are
Yeah.
cute, but you still need to do self-care. So noticing if it softens and quietens the critic inside of all of us. We all have a critic inside. Does it soften and quieten the critic? Do you notice that after you talk to this particular person on your team that you created, that you're now inspired and you have ideas and you're
Mm.
feeling like connecting and you even have a sense of humor and noticing that in your kids, mama. When you do something with your kids, after whatever it is that you're doing to kind of help them deal with stress or trauma, do you notice that they're more engaged, they're more connected, they're less withdrawn, they're less agitated? Then whatever it is that you did with them, likely that worked. Music helps with kids sometimes, dancing with your kids helps, letting them do creative projects helps. Our creative energies tend to pull us up to that ventral vagal state where we tend to be really, really engaged and out of a dorsal vagal state where we're withdrawn and depleted. I'm in out of a sympathetic state where we're
Yeah.
stressed. So I'm going to explain those states because I realized I just threw all those words out there. Okay, so with polyvagal theory, we look at our traditional explanation of stress was fight or flight, the
Mhm.
limbic system. But we know now that it's a little bit more fluid and that we flow through these states throughout our day. We flow
Mhm.
from a dorsal vagal state, which is a shutdown state, up to ventral vagal state where we're very connected with people. And sometimes we're in that sympathetic state, which is that fight or flight. But we flow through
Mhm.
those and kind of noticing and this is the science from University of Chicago professor Gimlin found this out in the late 70s that every one of us has the skill to focus inwardly, but we don't always use it. And when we use it, we're able to connect with ourselves and we tend to shift. There's a little shift or pivot. But how you go about that, now that's going to vary, person to person. So, moms, when you're trying to see what am I had this trauma happen, am I okay? There are things you can do to kind of check in with yourself. Notice what state you're in. I'm in this state. I feel down. I feel like I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to leave. I just want to be away. Just notice that. Take a
Mhm.
breath and kind of connect with yourself. Where's that coming from? I just the car line. It was the car line. What was it about the car line? In the car line, I just felt so alone. I felt alone and I felt rushed and I felt like I just want some help. And then said, okay, what can I, how can I tend to that part of myself and listen to that part of myself? And that person says, I really just don't want to be in the car line just sitting there. I want to talk to somebody. And tomorrow I'm going to call Carolyn and see what she's doing. And I'll talk to her while I'm in the car line. And you test it out, you experiment. You're a scientist too. You experiment and you see if they help you use it. When I talk to Carolyn when I'm in the car line, I'm in a better mood.
Mm.
When I talk to Jessica and I'm in a car line, I'm in a crappy mood. Okay, so talk to Carolyn. Don't talk to Jessica. But then say, when I go for a walk, I need to talk to Jessica. There's something about that co-regulation with her when I'm on a walk that helps me to get in a step with myself and I'm able to get into a better place. So you're constantly noticing what brings you down, what brings you up, what kind of how you're flowing, and you're connecting almost like a Lego. You're connecting with yourself along the way throughout your day, noticing your physical states. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you uncomfortable physically? The garments that we wear to keep the girls up, sometimes you're like, well, really, is this bra? Really, and I want you to use Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a theory about how things go. The basic of it is that the most simple explanation is the likely explanation unless more complication is required. So for women, I'm like, sometimes just think, are you like, do your feet hurt?
Yeah.
You seriously, are your feet hurting and do you need to take off that bra? All right, so then it's a comfort issue and just let it be what it is. So that's what I would say to that mom. I know that was a novel versus a 500 word essay, but that would be my answer to that mom.
Yeah. One of my favorite people to read their work who I found I'm also a curious person and I love
Mhm.
to read the work of people who can explain to me the why and
Mm,
like the little tiny nuanced pieces. Um,
yes.
so I really like Gabor Mete, and his voice is so soothing. He's got this very, I don't know if it's kindergarten teacher level, but it's a very, his voice is very calm and very soothing. Um, yeah, I that's who I like. So I like to
I
listen
love
to him,
that.
but I also like to read his work. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. How else can I help today?
So how can our listeners connect with you further if they'd like to do so?
Well, um, I am on Instagram at Dr. Monique Thompson, Dr. Monique Thompson. And I have a website, Dr. Monique Thompson, all spelled out, Doctor. Monique is spelled Monique, Thompson with an H. I married that guy, right? So Thompson, Thompson. So Dr. Monique Thompson is my website, and my Instagram is at Dr. Monique Thompson.
Awesome. I will make sure there are links to Dr. Monique's website and Instagram in the show notes. So you can just scroll down a little bit and find those live links below. And it will be easy peasy lemon squeezy for you to find and connect with Dr. Monique. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here, for sharing. Um, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. I enjoyed it. And shout out to all the mamas who are going through traumas. I wish you well and best of luck.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to follow the podcast so new episodes land right in your feed each week. And if you're wondering what your next step toward calmer, more confident motherhood looks like, take my free Find Your Next Step to Calm and Confidence quiz found in the show notes below. Until next time, Mama, mend the past so you can mama in peace.